I was just kind of taken back from the intro there. I was expecting like New Line or something, but TriStar Columbia, that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I always had a thought it was Universal that did this, but evidently not.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, well, hang on. No, that's not
Oh,
right.
right, yeah.
Hang on. No, is that a Universal logo?
Yes,
It's
it
the
is. Yeah, the old one. Yeah.
Shadaloo. Jean Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia. See, like I was just like your two biggest names, right? So I mean, Jean Claude speaks for himself, but Raul Julia getting second billing. Um, Earliest thing prior to this I can think of is The Rookie with Clint Eastwood and Charlie Sheen. Was he in anything else?
Yeah, he was actually a fairly reasonably big star at the time. He was Gomez in the movie adaptations of the Addams Family, and they were successful, really successful, in the early 1990s. So he was a relatively sort of big star back then.
Yeah, and we had
As
we actually had a couple of them tagged in, like Ming Na Wen as Chun-Li. I believe she was the voice of Mulan in the original Disney anime movie.
Yeah, she's had a long career in film and television. Yeah, Agents of Shield. Uh, well, it was about a decade or so now, but yeah, she's had a long career.
I tell you, this is probably one of the most high energy out the gate intros of just probably any action movie I think I've ever seen. Like with the
Yeah,
news broadcast setting the stakes, the shots of
yeah,
Bison.
absolutely.
It really sets the tone, doesn't it? Moving forward, like right out of the gate.
Yeah, her news report delivers a ton of exposition and just how many characters it introduces as well in this opening segment.
I always like seeing the name M.Bison, and it's interesting. Like that photo still of Raul Julia there on the news. It's almost sort of akin to like I know the in the video game it says Thailand, but there's no flag. It's just a portrait of Bison. When you
Yes,
fly there for the confrontation in the game, I can't help but
yes,
think that might be a little nod to that as well.
yeah. I think the costume is fantastic in the film. It's incredible. And Raul Julia can really carry it. He's such a great performance in this.
I really did love that line. You've come across the world to fight me, soldier. Now's your chance. That's like almost a jab at all of the quarters you've sunk into the machine trying to beat him in the actual arcade because he's no slouch. Like I still have trouble to
Yeah,
this day trying to take him out in a straight set.
yeah. Edward R. Pressman produced this.
Yep, and I believe
Another
there's a Stephen E. D'Souza credit in there as well.
Yeah, he's the writer and director. Yeah, probably most famous for Die Hard as the screenwriter. But yeah, like all these guys have had,
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, written and directed by. Yep.
yeah, long careers in the business.
And this was probably at the absolute height of Van Damme at the time. Like, I mean, like a lot of his
Yeah, the
bigger hits had
late
been
80s to early 90s. Yeah.
yeah, like that was kind of it. He hadn't sort of started to sort of fade out until I'd probably say he lost a lot of his pull maybe early 2000s.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment. I think
Like,
Universal Soldier: The Return was his last theatrical film for a while at least. But yeah, this period, yeah, he was at his peak. Time Cop, I think to this day is still his most successful movie that came out the same year as this.
yeah, didn't that set some records? What did you think about some of the changes? Because I know for a lot of the hardcores out there, like E.Honda being from Hawaii or Balrog being a cameraman, it instantly sort of breaks all immersion into it. Some of these changes I actually don't mind because when you're juggling 16 characters, I believe that was a mandate from Capcom that all 16 characters at the time needed to make an appearance in the film. I don't mind them, sort of cutting corners like that to get them all in there. That's quite a task for a 90-minute film.
It's a fiendishly complicated feat to pull off when writing. How do you juggle 16 characters and give them enough airplay to have character arcs? tremendously difficult in a hour and a half long film, if not outright impossible. And I always interpreted the Honda line as he's from Hawaii. He could be living there. He could be a Japanese guy living in
Yeah, like
Hawaii.
he could have.
It
Yeah.
doesn't specifically say that he had to be from there.
Yeah, and the shout out to I believe what they did here with Carlos Blanca. Charlie was a Street Fighter Alpha character, I believe, and that was the
Okay.
partner that is killed. If you remember in the '94 animated movie, Guile is trying to avenge a
Yes.
partner, and that's Charlie.
Okay.
So they sort of, and the animated film came out this same year as well in 1994. So they sort
Yeah.
of, and Street Fighter Alpha was just sort of putting its feet in the water. So they just decided to add that in there. I don't know that could very well have been a Capcom mandate as well to incorporate some alpha in there. But yeah, no, it's interesting that they managed to sort of blend those two together.
Yeah, I was amazed. And it puts into perspective just how massively popular Street Fighter 2 was. That this movie came out in 1994 and the game Street Fighter 2 was released, I think, in 1992. So or maybe 91. That's astonishing to me that the turnaround time was so quick to try and capitalize on its popularity. And I believe the four extra fighters, it's probably why they get shafted in this, because they probably weren't all that well established. Because Super Street Fighter 2, I think that came out, may have even been 94 or 93
I think it might
with
have been,
with
yeah.
so it's pretty astonishing. Yeah, just how huge Street Fighter was as a brand, like in the kind of pre-internet days. For a game to punch through and have this level of sort of mainstream awareness in the conscious,
Um,
it's astonishing what this game has managed to do.
there's an interesting little thing happening here in Sagat's office. Did you ever notice the statue from his level is in this
I
room?
did. Yeah, so I saw this movie on the big screen back in the day. I noticed it immediately, right off the bat, caught it first time.
Yeah,
It's much more obvious on the big screen
yeah,
than
it
it
is
is
because it was
watching it at
something.
home.
It was something that someone pointed. There it is in the background right now. The statue from his level
Yeah,
is inside of his little office here, his little suite.
yeah.
And there's quite a number of those stage shout outs throughout the actual film. So I kind of like chuckle to myself when people say their biggest gripe with the film is that it wasn't faithful enough to the game. Well, at the time, you got to remember Street Fighter 2, like even way back then in the early 90s, Street Fighter 2 barely had any like connective tissue to Street Fighter 1 apart from the fact Ryu defeated Sagat. Um, it hadn't really established all this lore with like Shadow, what is it, Psycho Power or any of that kind of stuff yet. So
Yeah.
a lot of it really was sort of pie in the sky stuff. But
Yeah, well, it's a philosophy I kind of agree with. Capcom sort of had the belief back then, look, just make the game good. We'll work out the story details later. And the gameplay mechanics on Street Fighter 2 are just so perfectly balanced with the precision of the gameplay amongst the entire roster. I could talk about it all night. It's just such a wonderfully balanced, developed game. And it's got very few competitors in my eyes. Mario Kart, maybe. That's another game that's pretty much on perfection in terms of its gameplay mechanics.
someone
But yeah,
pointed,
it's a very rare club these games belong to.
yeah, someone pointed out it was the biggest fighting game of all time uh, when it came out, and Street Fighter 2 still consistently breaks records. Like it had a new official release with Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challenges on the Switch in 2017, and it's just always going to be that sort of in fashion. Um, I saw someone mention that the only fighting game in the 90s that came out that did manage to straight up outsell it was Killer Instinct, believe it or not.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
only
well,
one
I
that came
mean,
close.
yeah, the guys at Rare, they know their stuff as well.
What did you?
It's yeah, go on.
Sorry, just with Doctor Dalzim. Now I know he's he's a shaman um, in the game. I actually kind of like the play that he's a scientist this time around, like a doctor of a different nature. Like I think that's a pretty interesting spin on it. Instead of being like a voodoo witch doctor, he's like an actual one. I just thought it's interesting what Stephen was doing there.
Yeah, they took some creative liberties with some of the characters because this is one of the things that kind of hurts the film. A lot of the more visually interesting characters, like Blanca and Dalsum with his powers, don't really get time to shine in this film because they just probably didn't really have the budget or the resources to pull it off. It's kind of what's exciting about this new version that is supposedly coming out. Because, well, I mean, Blanca is probably the most visually interesting character in the entire roster. He
Not to
really
mention
stands
with his
out.
with like his powers, like his eels.
Yes.
Like I believe he learned the electricity from eels. Um,
Yeah, his electricity powers are amazing. He's such a dynamic character. I wish I had devoted some time to getting good with him because I
I
love Blanca as a character.
I love the visual sort of. I mean, because like this film, like it's not pretending to be something that it's not. It's clearly made for the kids that were spending all their lunch, like hoarding their lunch money to go to the video store after school and all of that, or to wag school in general to go and play Street Fighter for a couple of rounds with their mates. Dropping little visual hints like that to sort of whet the appetite of the younger viewers that were going to see it, like the green and orange bags that came in, the
Yeah.
DNA mutagens. Like I remember when I first saw this film, I didn't see it in theaters. I was, only just born when this film was coming out. But when I saw it for the first time, like on home video, I remember going nuts over that because I knew what it meant. um,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine what kids were like back in the theaters when they saw those green and orange bags come out, going, "Oh yeah, we're definitely getting Blanca."
Yeah.
Um, I
I think the
actually,
costumes
yeah,
are, by and large, they're really good in the film. And like you just,
Vega just did his victory pose there. Um,
yeah, Vega's costume looks fine here. I don't know why
the loafers,
people
yeah.
complain about the movie because the one thing this movie does get right, it captures a really fun tone. Street Fighter 2 is fun. Like as a boy playing it all night with my friends, it's such a fun game. It's not meant to be to an extent. I know there's some dark elements in it, but it's not meant to be a joyless, soulless, dark and sinister, you know, examination of, what it means to be a warrior or any of that crap. It's a fun film, and I think that really captures the fun spirit that the games had. I don't believe because people
Well, I just want to,
criticize,
yeah,
yeah,
I just wanted
go
to
on.
add to that real quick. Like, it's meant to be fun playing with your friends. Where literally, like, you got Ryu, sorry, and Vega here getting ready to fight, and everyone's crowding around them. It's like watching those two people playing Street Fighter at an arcade, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
it's
recreating that with the audience. Yeah.
yeah, and it does echo the spirit of the games as well, because in the backgrounds you often see people betting and cheering and clapping and that.
And you saw
Like
that
in
woman that dropped the "I love Vega" poster, and Vega's like shocked at it, like she's a Ryu
yeah.
fan now all of a sudden. Just on that real quick, I'm probably going to use those two names interchangeably, Ryu and Ryu. I believe the only
Mm.
character in the film to actually pronounce the name Ryu correctly is Raul Julia. He actually says Ken and Ryu. He's the only one to actually pronounce it correctly. Everyone else says Ryu
Yeah,
in the
okay.
film. Now, I'm not too sure, but is this one of the first times we actually hear the name Ryu Hoshi? It mentions his last name.
Quite possibly, yeah. I know there's been some comic books and other things sort of in the early days of Street Fighter, but yeah, it may have come up in cartoon, maybe. There was a Street Fighter, short-lived Street Fighter cartoon as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, any other new business? Yeah, and I believe it had a crossover with Final Fight, I think, at some point.
Yeah, okay.
I always get thrown for a loop that Kylie Minogue's in the film as Cammy.
Yeah, it's a bit of bizarre casting, isn't it?
It
She's
really is, yeah.
she certainly looks the part. I mean, it's like Cammy just stepped out of the video game. She's
Oh yeah, like I'm not
um
knocking that, but it's just a very interesting choice
yeah.
to go with. Like, I mean, hey, I got to be loyal, man. Like, I love seeing Aussies on the big screen and things like this. And yeah, like she was what really sort of blew up in the music scene, not so much the acting one. So yeah, seeing her rock up in this is yeah, again, just very interesting. Um, I do kind of like the sort of swashbuckling nature of Ken and Ryu here, like especially when they're just walking around and everyone's just
Hmm.
closing in on them.
Yeah, it was the I think it's a song by Ice Cube playing in the background from memory.
And the homemade rake that Vega has.
Yeah.
And yeah, I always loved the sort of younger T-Hawk in the background, like being a bit of private, giving them the briefings on those two. One thing that I did find interesting about the film was their take on Ken Masters. I suppose, like, why is he sort of like a hustler with Ryu ripping off like terrorists and things like that? I guess because to explain the Masters being rich and their family fortune, they didn't really want to delve into all of that. Um,
Yeah.
because like you've got, as you were saying before, like very limited screen time, and I'm not too sure that Capcom themselves had the Masters worked out as like trillionaires or whatever at the time. I don't
Yeah,
think
well, it's
there's
something
anything
I
in that second
vaguely
game that hints that the Masters were rich.
yeah, it's one of those things I vaguely recall remembering someone or I read it in a book or somewhere that um Ken's rich and Ryu isn't. It's yeah, it's just one of those sort of things
Well,
that
money doesn't really mean much to Ryu, but I guess because they have a very similar skill set in the game, um, it was probably just easier to make them the same guy in the film.
yeah.
That could also be potentially the reason why they opted to not have Ryu as the main character of the film, because there was another character in the game with the exact same skill set.
Yeah, quite possibly. It's yeah, because I mean Ryu is the sort of central character in the lore. Like well certainly yeah now and in the last sort of couple of decades. But I thought they made a good choice with Guile, and I think Van Damme is very underrated sometimes with his acting. It's just such a lazy thing to give him grief over. I think he is a better actor than he's given credit for. He
He really is, yeah. Like, I do quite like that, or am I right and you're different? Like, he knows exactly
mm,
what he's doing here, and that's the kind of thing. Like, I know one of the. A point that happens later in the film. We might as well talk about Van Damme now. Like there's a point later, I'm actually very impressed with his take on the character and what they did here, because that speech, giving what we know about Guile, especially in retrospect with what they've done with the character since then, like who wants to go home and who wants to go with me, that's totally a thing that Guile would say in a video game, you know? Like I reckon that's pretty bang on to what the character would do.
yeah, and he was in yeah, he does give some good performances. I enjoyed him in Time Cop. I thought he was great in that, and he was in a movie called Nowhere to Run. He gives a really good performance in that. We've talked about Sudden Death a year or so ago, and he's good in that. So, and it was good to finally read some good reviews about his performances with as the 2000s went on. He got some good reviews with JCVD, and he also His performance in The Expendables 2, playing the villain, was well received. So he did finally get the sort of credit he probably should have got a bit
Well,
earlier in his career.
well, that's something that really stuck out to me about Jean-Claude Van Damme, especially when things like the Expendables were rolling around, because and it shows you the kind of star power that he had, or maybe that people didn't realize that he had, that when the final cast was locked in for the first one, I think in 2010, the massive elephant in the room was, well, where's Jean Claude? Like, shouldn't he be there? So the sequel focuses on, well, who wasn't there? And he's easily the biggest missing link in that first film. Like, well, where is he? Um,
Yeah. And
um,
like you mentioned, he he's not the best actor, but he does have presence. Like he does have screen presence, and there's a lot of actors now who are technically better than him that have none of that. So it's interesting what filmmakers look for now as opposed to back then,
well, I
because
think, yeah,
he is just eating up the scenes here,
yeah,
which is great.
but what I love the most though is that the film's not trying to hide that. Like, you can't help but think, like, if a film today was doing that, they would be actively trying to hide it, and it would just be taking you out of the film. Like, this is just pulling me further in.
Yeah. It's interesting as well that I guess for fans of the game and the property, the animated movie would be considered a much better film than this one. But this one is more memorable, if that makes sense. When people think of Street Fighter, I don't think they necessarily, in terms of films, I don't think they'll probably think of the Van Damme version more than the anime, and no one would remember the one from 2009. So it's interesting how it may stand the test of time in that regard.
Well, I'm sure the question will probably come up at some point, why aren't we talking about the animated movie instead of this one? Well, at time of recording, well, the answer is simple, from what you just said, because there's not really a whole lot to talk about the animated film. Like, it's that ridiculously faithful to the game. We might as well just stream us playing the game. There's not a whole
Yeah.
lot to talk about there. Like, this gives us a bit to talk about.
Yeah.
A similar thing that I think about is the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, I would like to do a discussion on the 93 one, because I don't like, I mean, I'm sure the 2023 one is vastly superior, but it looks just like the game. Like, we might as well just stream playing the game. Like, it doesn't really
Yeah.
leave a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, I prefer the beautiful disasters. They're
Yeah,
more
well,
entertaining.
at least, for the time that they came out and all of that, they do give you something to talk about. This was an interesting sort of twist here, but I suppose no one really thought, like, even the kids back in the day probably didn't think that Guile was really dead, because he just had that scene, it like getting the other two to get embedded with Bison. I always chuckle at this one line, and I make jokes
Yeah.
about it with a few mates of mine. I think the food court should be larger. All the big franchises will want in. Like, he wants to sell the Happy Meal. Like, he wants to
Yeah.
get the KFC, dinner for $4, dinner and a drink. He wants those in Bisonopolis. And by the way, listening to this speech, Bisonopolis sounds like a great place to live in.
Yeah, that was one of the top comments on this scene on YouTube. I would like to live in Bisonopolis.
Well, why not, man? It's got everything you need.
Yeah.
Not for power, not for evil, but for good.
Yeah. So Shadaloo. So in the game, is it I could be wrong, but I thought it was a like like Spectre or something, a secret organization. But here it's
It's a
been
country, I
reinterpreted.
think.
Yeah, as a country inside Southeast Asia somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that it's still located in Thailand, like the video game.
Yeah.
And I think you might be right to go back to your earlier point. The additional four characters, which I believe were Cammy, Fei Long, T-Hawk, and DJ,
Yeah, that's
sort of
correct.
are the weakest links of this, because DJ, who's literally just a Jamaican street fighter, is like this high-end, like, security analysis, like, on the freelance payroll of Shadaloo. um, but I suppose, they just sort of had to, again, it's sort of that cutting corners. Well, how do you do Balrog E.Honda, well, you just make them cameraman for Chun-Li and she's a news anchor. Okay, well,
Yeah,
what about DJ like Zangief and well, they're Sagat and all of that? Oh yeah, well, they're just underlings of Bison. Like you sort of
yeah,
like trim the fat a little bit
yeah, yeah. Just sort of reinterpret them and streamline and combine a few of the storylines.
because I think that was another Capcom sort of directive was that not only did all 16 characters need to be in the film, but all 16 characters needed to appear in their costume at some point,
Yeah,
which I think
and
all of them
I
do. Yeah.
yeah, and it's clever how they incorporated that. And yeah, I'll try and point them out when we get to them. Just in awe of Raul Julia's monologue there. He's just such a it's such a bygone sort of thing these days where like an actor just gives you value for money. I don't think anyone, whether they like the film or not, could possibly feel shortchanged by Raul Julia's performance.
I believe at the time he was terminally ill with stomach cancer, and I believe there's even you can get the original footage of his interview online on YouTube if you just Google it. He was asked to do Bison, and he said no. And then his kids asked him, "What was that about?" Oh, they wanted me to play some villain in Street Fighter, and the kids knew the video game, so he just decided, "Yeah, well, why not? I'll do it for them." And lo and
Yeah,
behold,
I've
it was
heard
the
that.
final thing that he did.
Yeah, I've heard a few actors tell a similar story. I think Martin Sheen took on a role as Jason Wynn in the Spawn movie because he was having a conversation with his grandson who mentioned he was a fan of the character, and I think Frank Langella took on the role of Skeletor because his children were fans of the cartoon or something along those lines. So
And I
yeah,
think,
it's
and I think Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn was another one. His son was a
yeah,
big fan of the book.
yeah, okay, yeah, I do remember hearing that somewhere.
I just want to say I love that on the dashboard. um, I love the whole interior of this van, by the way, like the little fan that's mounted and all of that. But I love on the dashboard, Shadaloo on a $25 a day budget, like a tourist guide.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't mind that one. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the tongue-in-cheek atmosphere that the movie creates. People don't see. There was a good discussion on Reddit the other day about for people who work in the industry, um, at what point, I forget the exact phrasing, but like when bad movies get made, what happens? And the user posing the question said, how do films that are obviously bad get made? And he threw that question open to people who are actually working in the industry, and there was a reply. Nothing starts out as obviously bad. It's a script that someone obviously liked and wanted to produce it and put it into production. It's actors who, obviously saw something they liked and put their hand up to audition. So, like the whole, like, because we sit here behind our keyboards, right, thinking, oh, they must have known this was going to be bad. No, they don't. It's such a huge collaborative effort that hundreds, if not thousands, of people work on in front of the camera and behind it.
Yeah, like
That
they
there's
really
no
do
doubt.
give it a red hot crack to make the
Yeah.
best they absolutely can before it comes out. Like
And
nothing is
yeah,
deliberately made bad.
that's right. There's YouTube reviews of this film that just seem oblivious to the fact this is 100% the tone they were going for. They
Mm.
didn't accidentally stumble their way into this, 100 examples in the film of it being tongue in cheek. They actively
Mm.
wanted to create this type of atmosphere.
And there's especially towards the tail end of the film, it becomes more and more like apparent that
Yeah.
that's what they were going for. I do
Yeah,
love
now,
how Guile was just laying down this whole time just to spook the absolute hell out of Chun-Li. He waits, like he could have just said hello when she pulled it back, but no, she puts it back up. Then he pops up like the Undertaker.
yeah, I'd forgotten about that bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but only Jean Claude could do that and make it funny. Like that's just
Yeah.
but that's what it's like. And I sit back here in awe, wondering like how the hell did they do this? and not just crack up laughing. Like they must have done this take like 100 times before they
Yeah.
got the right one. Yeah, but oh yeah, well this is another great Guile moment here. I love how T-Hawk also has this bandage on his head like all the time. It's sort of like slowly teasing that he'll put the Cherokee bandana
Yeah,
on a little
okay.
bit later. Um,
Yeah.
like with the feather at the back and all that kind of stuff. Because I believe what you find him in he's a Native American, I think.
Yes.
Is yeah, like like as a Cherokee warrior and all of that. I love this line from Guile here. What I was gonna mention: this war is not about your personal vendetta, but it's about mine. That is
Mm.
like, is that not something the animated Guile would have said?
Yeah.
Like one of like I mean, you see Jean Claude Van Damme with a crew cut and an American flag tattoo, wearing a singlet, and it says Street Fighter. You want to be him when you're a kid and you see that, right? Like the iconography is really cool.
Yeah. Now I can't stop noticing T-Hawk's bandage. So he was injured when Ken and Rio escaped, is that right?
No, I believe he had it before then.
Okay. Yeah, I never noticed
I,
it when
I,
he jumped out of the
I,
tank at the start.
no, I think he got it when they staged the breakout.
Yeah, yeah, when they escaped.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they got to put something on T-Hawk, you know. I mean, because like obviously the big. Well, I know Ryu never wears the red headband in this, but I don't. Oh, well, it's not really a band; it's more of a ribbon. I know the animated movie gave its own reasons behind that and all that kind of stuff, but I love how they put that bandage on T-Hawk's forehead, and by the end of the film, he actually has the feather
Yeah.
band on.
I like this whole sequence at the weapons bazaar.
I mean, we should talk. I mean, like the set design of this film, far out, is just second to none. Like the inside the Shadaloo Temple cave, like like we saw
Yeah.
the elephants playing in the river outside of it. Like it's
Yeah.
just incredible. Some of the sets and the locations, the UN, like the village, like it's all like Good Morning Shadaloo. Obviously, it's a shout out to Vietnam and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this here is just brilliant. All of this stuff is just great. And I love the shock troopers of Shadaloo, the red and silver guys, just sort of standing around as decoration. Like they're just
Yeah,
waiting for something to
Bison's.
pop off.
Yeah, Bison's minions. It's always a funny thing I notice about.
Sorry, I think it's coming up, but there's a cool moment where the dancers walk in. You get this close up of DJ, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
it probably
someone,
wouldn't fly
yeah,
in
someone,
today's world.
yeah, someone needs to gift that." Yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah, because I was thinking about Balrog this afternoon because I knew we were going to be discussing it. I was surprised in the game he's a villain. The final four opponents are these like warlords of or generals of Shadow Law or Shadowloo. So I was quite surprised that but that's not obvious in the game. The game doesn't have any sort of text
Well,
screens
as
once
far as
you,
the game's concerned, they're just the last three warriors you need
yeah,
to fight, and Bison's the main villain.
yeah. So Balrog is a villain, and you have a character like Blanca who looks like a monster, who you would think would be a villain, is actually one of the heroic characters, and so is Dalsum. Dalsum with these glowing white eyes looks kind of sinister under a certain light, but he's a heroic character as well, which sort of and he's a good guy in this as well. But it's interesting how yeah, Balrog is a villain.
The
It's
only,
established
the
in the
only,
game, but he's also
yeah,
he's a heroic character in this.
the only two that sort of, I suppose at the time, Rocky Balboa was also very popular. Like I think we just had Rocky 5 a few years before.
Yeah,
So having a character in Street Fighter with boxing gloves, they decide that might have had something to do with it, maybe.
yeah.
Um,
And I thought I read somewhere their names are rearranged for the English markets.
that's
Is
correct. Yeah.
Balrog? Yeah, so I think Balrog is Vega, or
Yeah. So M.Bison is Balrog. They changed that
okay,
because of the
yeah,
Mike Tyson. Like they might get sued.
yeah,
Vega is Bison over there, and Balrog is Vega.
okay, yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah, Balrog is Vega, and Bison was Balrog, and Vega was Bison.
Yeah, it makes searching for action figures for them kind of tricky. I
It is because I think
'cause-
to this day they still haven't walked that back. I think if you're getting them imported direct from Japan, you've
yes.
got to use their original names.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you're serious about, some high-end action figures, you'd have to probably get them from their home. So
I do love the way Wes Studi drops this line. You raving lunatic. Yeah, I probably wouldn't tick off this bloke who who, at this point in time, thanks to like the UN coverage and what Chun-Li's been reporting on, is like the most deadliest man on the planet. Like I probably wouldn't be smack talking him on his own turf.
yeah, and another example of an actor who has, yeah, he's got decades long career and he would continue to act. He still acts today, like decades
I
into the
know
future. So
and you know what? It always makes me smile whenever I see Wes Studi rock up in something. Like I clean forgot that he was in Heat with
yeah,
Robert De
Last of the
Niro and all that.
Mohicans.
Yeah, Deep Rising with Treat
Yeah.
Williams. Like wow, man! Like this bloke, he gets around and he always brings the goods every single
Yeah.
time. Like every time he rocks up, it's always a zinger. And he's got
Yeah,
some
he's
really
great.
killer lines in this film. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite line in the whole movie is "All that's left now is revenge," and that's not a
Yeah.
Bison line. That's a Sagat line.
Yeah. I like Sagat in this movie and Vicarious Little Offsider.
Yeah. What do you think of this little number, Vega? Yeah, I always love the infighting when it comes to the villains. You know, like when Ken
Yeah.
and Ryu walk back in there, yo, guys. I mean, like, okay, man, you're hurting her, man. Come on. Yeah, these two, like these guys, have just got no idea what they're. But I love that sort of. Again, it's that sort of. They're on the like the adventure of the whole thing, and they're just playing it by ear. Like they didn't
Yeah.
mean to be this deep, but they're doing it for their freedoms, and now it's evolved into this, and now they got to quell the flames between. Like, I mean, who's the lesser of two evils, Bison or Sagat? Like, what do you
Yeah.
do? Oh,
Yeah.
far out.
And I think it's a good choice. I do like the simmering animosity between Bison and Sagat.
Because in effect, Sagat was the main final boss of the original game. Bison has replaced him in every subsequent release. So it makes sense. Well, why am I the number two guy now? I was the number one guy before you came along. So you kind of
Yeah.
get that, you know, sort of. It's like Galvatron and Zarek at the end of Rebirth. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And it also kind of works in the film. He was the ruler of Shadaloo before Bison muscled in. So it kind of works here as well.
And he also managed to get away with it, like, on a smaller grip, whereas he wants to control it, like, nationwide.
Yeah.
And I always love the way Raul Julia's like eyes dart around, checking out the footage, like where it could be coming from. Like he knows it's on the way, but I love how he just wants to catch it first. Um, I suppose we should talk about Zangief. Now, for the life of me, I cannot remember this actor's name, but I also believe he was Chip Shrek in Batman Returns a few years prior.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Yeah,
the same
Zangief.
actor. Yeah, not you, Shrek. Go, Dad, save yourself. I believe it's the same actor.
Yeah.
Zangief as the comedy relief, I actually don't kind of mind. Like the big, strong sort of. It's the big, strong, and dumb, isn't it? What, without a doubt, he's the biggest and strongest character, body wise, probably in the entire roster at that point. Arguably against Sagat.
Yeah, I'll pick up on a couple of points you've made there. He's also is one of the few characters in this film that actually does have an arc. He starts out as a villain and becomes a hero by the end of it. Most of them kind of have clearly defined heroic roles or they're on the side of the bad guys. And you have a couple who are pursuing their own agenda. So Zangief um, actually does have a little arc in this movie, and a lot of the others don't. And and it's gotten to the point you mentioned about the roster at the time, because I got a pretty vivid memory of number two. But yeah, I'm prepared to wager now. I'm not sure if Capcom have let their roster spiral out of control the way Mortal Kombat has, but there's probably more characters now I've never heard of and have never seen than characters that I do know. It's up to what, Street Fighter 5 or 6 now. I'm
Uh,
guessing the roster has probably just exploded the way Mortal Kombat's did.
well, I would imagine so. Yeah. I do have a pretty good fondness for Street Fighter 4
Yeah.
because in terms of like direct sequels, I would argue that Street Fighter 4 is more of a sequel to Street Fighter 2 than what 3 is.
Yeah.
In fact, I think 3 is meant to be an in-between qual. Like, it's in between two games. It's not actually... It's the third released in the main timeline, but it's... I don't know. It gets very messy, and I didn't really think Gil was that much of a decent villain. And I thought the introduction of Sin was really good.
Yeah.
And Seth and C. Viper was a really cool character. But apart from that, I haven't really kept up with it. Like, I'm just a bare bones, traditional 16 character guy.
Yeah. And that's what Street Fighter 4 did really well. It had all the established ones and it didn't go crazy on the new characters. I think there's only a handful that come into it. Um, so yeah, I wonder if it'd be interesting to see the latest one to see if they had shown any sort of restraint um with their character roster because yeah, like just not that I've played them, but just sort of watching some trailers for the latest MK games, I have no idea who any of these people are. Um,
Yeah, I know, I don't either. And speaking of not knowing who anyone is, the missing link is obviously Fei Long, but we get this character, Captain Sawada.
yeah.
Um, Now, I believe that is supposed to be the stand-in for Fei Long, but
Okay.
um, because I believe it's a Korean actor they've got there. For the life of me, again, I cannot remember his name, but he was a bit of a martial artist action star, I believe, at the time, and they wanted to
Okay.
incorporate him as Fei Long into this, but then they sort of tried to make him his own thing, and then we got Captain Sawada, but then Fei Long never really happened, and it sort of just got caught up in this whole thing. But whether or not that's true or not, I'm not too sure. But for all intents and purposes, I think everyone can agree with Captain Sawada was supposed to be Fei Long.
Yeah, it's quite uh, a strange sort of development. It's because everyone else is there, every other character's there. Perhaps this is pure speculation. I'm sure hardcore Street Fighter fans are all over it, but I perhaps they thought because Fei Long, the game character, is heavily inspired and influenced by Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Maybe they were worried about any sort of legal
Yeah,
ramifications.
it could be the same thing as like M. Bison, Mike Tyson. So yeah,
Yeah,
you 100% could be right. Maybe they got some cold feet and decided to walk
yeah,
it back.
and yeah, and this is kind of hot on the heels of Brandon Lee's death. He hadn't been dead all that long, and maybe sort of having a character that clearly apes his father was maybe felt a bit tacky because Edward R. Pressman produced this, and he also produced The Crow.
Yeah, you
So,
might
but
be onto
that's
something. Yeah.
yeah, it's all pure speculation on my part, though.
Yeah, I actually didn't quite mind this. Now, here's the other stage shout out that I'm a big fan of. If you look in the background here, the wave from E.Honda's bathhouse
Oh,
is in the background.
yeah, well, that's one I never caught. So, yeah, that's well spot.
Yeah, that one. I mean, it really is a blink and you miss it moment, but
Yeah.
that sort of Japanese artistic flair that he has in the bathhouse, it's in the Shadaloo gym.
Yeah, I've never noticed that before. That's interesting. I caught the statue years ago, but not that, because I always liked this scene. I thought it was really clever making their costumes uniforms for Bison soldiers in training. That
I
was a
know.
really clever idea. That's always is what struck me about this scene.
Yeah, hey, cool uniform. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely love that, and I think the actual design of the two karate gis is really cool as well.
Yeah.
Um, Having them like that, and yeah, like how they actually have their actual boxing mittens and things like that. It's really cool. Though I don't think they actually go barefoot, but in the original game, I believe they both wore sneakers anyway.
Yeah, okay.
They didn't fight bare feet until the second game, I believe, or at least one of them did. I think Ryu might have fought barefoot and Ken wore sneakers, but I know one of them wore shoes in the original game.
Yeah.
Um, and this is probably the most what famous scene of the entire film years later, if not for that line of "You lost your balls."
Yeah, I love this entire scene. Now, apparently, the guys at the Salty Nerd, when they were discussing this film, apparently Van Damme's parents were on set this day watching him, and this is why he delivers such an excellent speech. He really dug deep here. I love this scene. He really wanted to make his parents proud, and it really shines through.
Uh,
And also the actor in the suit. We talked about this with sort of Billy Zane and Titanic. You'd never get credit for it, but this scene doesn't work if he doesn't play the sniveling corporate government shitheel to a T. The scene would just fall apart if he. What a really thankless role he did, and he did it perfectly.
And I love all of the different, like they're all wearing the same colors and they're all flying, like they're all underneath the Allied nation flag. But I love how on their left shoulders they all have their native flags on there where they're from.
Yeah,
Like you've got Belgium, you got Germany, you got Great Britain, you got America. You know, like
yeah,
Australia's in there. Like there's just like the list is never ending of people who've enlisted to put a stop to people like Bison. And like that's
yeah.
like like you just saw Israel was there. Um,
Yeah, so I'm
really cool.
not sure where I heard this. So the filmmakers did try to get, although I'm not sure if they were taking the piss or not, they actually wanted the United Nations in the film, but for whatever reason it tanked. So yeah, they came up with this fictional Allied Nations peacekeeping organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah, terrific scene and it really gets you pumped for the finale. And I'm actually surprised looking back on this film just how early this scene happened in the movie. They're still just under, we're just a tick over 40 odd minutes. There's still an hour to go.
Well, I
I
think because
was,
we've got all the 16 characters on board now, we need to get them all in the same room. And
yeah, I
because
was
that's where the real
surprised.
good stuff is, yeah.
Yeah, because we're pretty much in the third act now, and there's still an hour to go. It's pretty astonishing. If I before watching it now, if you had said to me,
I could have sworn
"What's
that happened
what's?"
with 20 minutes to go.
Oh, absolutely. I would have thought we're an hour and 20 into the movie. I am shocked that this scene happened so early in retrospect.
Yeah, I know. You're 100% right. The corporate stooge is what really sells this moment. And I always love that. I would love to, but some moron just canned me. I
Yeah,
think
I
I,
love that line. Yeah.
I think all of us know that one bloke out at work that we would love to say that to. See,
Yeah.
but now to go back to your when Chun-Li broke into the morgue, this is my ultimate telltale sign of course this whole thing is just a ruse. You're not meant to be taking this movie seriously. Guile literally loads up a video of happy moments. Like, that's out of a cartoon,
Yeah.
guys. Like, this isn't supposed to be taken for real. Like, it's not trying to be Citizen Kane.
Yeah. It's becoming a sort of a common theme when we do these discussions. If you didn't want this, what did you want? And yes,
But,
we get to the infamous Chun-Li Bison scene.
yeah, well, this will be right up there. I love how he has to, like, strip off while she's in. Like, that, like, this is how I'm gonna do it after a date. But I won't come out in, like, this nice red satin, golden laced, velvety smoking jacket. I'll come out in a turtleneck and some wine. I'll do that instead.
Yeah. And
Also, we should notice that Chun Li is now in her costume with the cinnamon
yeah.
buns.
And Ming Na, when again, she's the perfect foil here. This line would not live in cinematic, iconic history, this line coming up, if not for her reaction to it. She is just so stunned and shocked and speechless and flabbergasted that
I
he would have the audacity to say that. She's
I also
perfect.
love the content look on his face while he's making a martini cocktail, which, if you look at the drinks, they have the Shadaloo icon on the sticks inside of them. Like, and he gives one to her. you know, like if you look at the drinks there where the fruit is, it has the Shadaloo icon on it. Oh.
Yeah.
And also, when he was changing his cap just before, I like this cap better than the black one, but all the other caps were based on his alternate suits, his alternate palettes from the video game.
Yeah, okay.
And I love the wide-eyed expression on me. I went like, "What?" Like, I mean, you know when you say something to a woman and then she just smacks you in the face, like that's the look she makes before she does
Yeah.
it.
For me, it was Tuesday.
But I think a lot of us relate to that line on, like we hear people's troubles and all that sort of in and out. What like I mean, like, you don't really care, but you pay them an ear anyway. I don't remember any of
Yeah.
it. I think we're all like that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was Tuesday.
Um,
It's a good sobering reminder, like these, because everyone is convinced everyone looks at the world just the way they do. Like the idea that something like hugely profound happened, people tend to think that it happened to everyone, and it's just not the case most of the time.
yeah, like one of my favorite ones. Mewtwo has a good line about it. I love the chandelier made of bones.
I know I mean, it's a ridiculous prop, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Um, Mewtwo has a good line about what you just said in the Return of Mewtwo Pokemon movie. Um, he's talking to the cloned Meowth and Pikachu, and a swarm of Butterfree fly across the moon. It's late at night, it's a full moon. And he says to the two clones, I'm sure the moon is round and bright to those Butterfree, just as it is to us and to any other Pokemon that sees it. Well, yeah, if we can see the moon as they do, why can't we see the Earth as they do?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, it's a really cool line. And um, and this must have been sort of one of the biggest lead ups for fans who were watching it at the time. When are we going to see Chun-Li fight for real? Like, we've seen her physical prowess when she was sneaking around and all of that. Bison gets a bit smug here, but what an awesome reveal when she breaks the cuffs.
Yeah, I remember watching this as a kid. It was a real jaw-dropping moment when she launches into
And
action.
not to
I
mention,
remember,
she's the first person to get the better of him.
yeah, I do remember this as a kid. Chun-Li.
Yeah. Chun-Li Zhang, I believe, is the character's name.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Chun-Li Zhang.
Yeah, you're sumo when you're boxer. And that might be why they had Balrog and E.Honda together, because they were both
Yeah.
professional fighters in their own rights, in
Yeah.
their own fields.
Check out the fireplace.
I love the portrait, and the cape is
Yeah.
like a flag.
Oh my God. This is just insane. Where, well, I love this movie, but we're starting to lose the plot a bit now.
Because I think at this point, Stephen E. D'Souza probably thought we need to start getting people to fight now.
Well, that's something on the commentary he kind of talks about the another thing that hurts the movie, although I think this fight is actually pretty good. The fight scenes didn't really have a lot of oomph or pack a lot of punch in them. It's because something happened production wise. All this rehearsal time, the actors and the stunts and the trainers all thought they had didn't really eventuate. So they pretty much had to start filming on limited rehearsal. Um, so yeah, I can't remember the exact reason why, but they he really does concede the fights needed to be a lot better. Although I did like Chun-Li's just then, she, strutting her stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think she got the better of him there.
Yeah.
But I always love the smug villain escaping to fight another day. So he runs
Yeah.
into a little thing and then gasses the main crew. Like, I always love the villain having like a sneaky, slimy way out like that.
Yeah.
Because, and that's what I think, like the era that this came out in, Gary Chalk had a good quote on that, and that was, we want our heroes to be heroes and our villains to be villains. One thing that I love about this movie, and I'll never get sick and tired of rewatching it again, is there's no ambiguity about who's who. Like maybe
Yeah.
Chun-Li a little bit, how she's sneaking around in like a black suit and all that kind of stuff, and maybe Ken and Ryu, but you clearly know where everyone's deal is. Like Sagat is
Yeah,
not going to get
it's
redeemed. You know, like it doesn't go in for that deep multi-layer sort of thing that most movies would try to do with this kind of source material.
yeah, it's well, and that really changed post 9/11. I'm rewatching 24, which came sort of hot on the heels of, post 9/11, and yeah, the it became very much the ends justifies the means. And I watched a scene earlier today, and a character says, "Look, just arrest him. Arrest him for what? Make something up. Like, do whatever you have to do. Get the truth out of him." And yeah, like from the 2000s onwards, that like heroes started to fall in this really gray area, and you never really saw straight up heroism like you did. It's also probably one of the reasons why the nostalgia boom took off in the early 2000s, and G.I. Joe and all that became popular again because yeah, like you just said, the heroes were good and the villains were bad, and there was very little sort of morally ambiguous characters.
Yeah, and this is where Dalsim starts to make his stand. I
He's
actually
reversing the programming.
see this is something that I really like when characters do this, like when they're going down a path and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. Like they can't physically overcome their oppression or anything like that. They look for small, like incremental ways to start breaking it down. Like I
Yeah,
love that when they employ things like that. And Dalsum is a very good, in this film at least, is a very good example of that. Like they look for smaller ways on how to defeat the enemy. Well, if I knock this domino over here, Blanca doesn't become a killing machine. That effectively, stops Bison's, like his bid for the ultimate soldier. And, we might have a chance to sort of walk all this back. Like, we can't save everything, but we can minimize the fallout. Like, you look for smaller ways of breaking down the villain because you can't take them on head
yeah,
on. I love it when that happens, and Dalsum is awesome at that in this film.
yeah. It's something the first season of Andor does really well as well, where it picks up the Empire has just brutally subjugated the galaxy, but on this planet here, there, and like there's these little pockets, there's this little pushback coming. Like we're 99% going with what you want, but occasionally it bubbles over and we sort of push back a bit. It's really cool. The um I'll briefly mention the just with some action figures in that the with the boat and the vehicles they did
These
have a
look
toy line
really
in the
cool,
early
yeah.
90s. Yeah, I remember having an M.Bison figure with an attack vehicle, and although they're quite dear now, they're like 3 3/4 inch figures that fit in with Hasbro's G.I. Joe line. Street Fighter, in hindsight, has been very compatible with lots of properties. It really fits in with G.I. Joe, and they've well, it feels like there's been dozens of crossovers with Marvel and Capcom and X-Men and all that as well.
One of my favorite crossovers, well, like Marvel vs. Capcom and all of that, but one of my favorite crossovers is Street Fighter and Power Rangers.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know if
Yeah.
you ever saw the short on YouTube with Jason David Frank, but they recruit Ryu to become a Power Ranger. He becomes the
Yeah,
Ryu
okay.
Ranger, and Ninja, creating the Ninja coins and the original Power Ranger coins. Ninja creates the Ryu Ranger coin, and it's a Hadouken on the logo.
Oh, that's cool.
So Ryu really loans himself to Power Rangers. In fact, I think a lot of the Capcom characters, Street Fighter characters do. So that's one that I've always really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's pretty astonishing. It's yeah, it's proven to be very compatible. As opposed to something like DC and Mortal Kombat, where like one game came out and that was it.
Like,
It
who
it,
wants
it
to see Superman laser off
yeah,
Scorpion's head? Like, who wants to
yeah.
see Sub Zero freeze Batman and then smash him? Like, it's
Probably the same guys who hero worship Dawn of Justice.
yeah, the Zack Snyder fans. Yeah, probably. Well, that's why I think Street Fighter loans itself to these other things a bit better, like Tatsunoko versus Capcom. I mean, like you've got Tekka Man Blade, you know, fighting Chris Redfield. you know. But
Yeah,
I think only Capcom, like you've got Ryu versus Mark the Eagle
yeah,
from Battle of the Planets. Like I think only the Capcom characters can get away with that. And I think a lot of the reason why is because their characters, like even their villains, like Bison, have these sort of bombastic, heroic designs. Like this big flowing cape, like the steel boots, like the
yeah.
gauntlets and all of that. The bright red. Red's usually a heroic character, a heroic color.
Yeah, they
Like you look
do.
at
Yeah, they
Like
look like
Chun-Li looks like
superheroes.
Chun-Li looks like Wonder Woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always sort of felt that because, again, with that fun aspect, all their characters are brightly colored, and you could easily imagine they're superheroes if you knew nothing else. They shoot energy bolts at each other. Um, it's yeah, it's pretty astonishing the longevity and the compatibility it's had.
I just want to say one thing here with when Bison gets up on his saddle and he gets the video game arcade joystick out to set off the mines to try and kill Guile. Um, I remember a mate of mine told me he was taking the bus back from somewhere, and anyway, there was a couple fighting, and the woman said, "What is this whole relationship to you? Just a game?" And then the guy just got up and changed seats, and he said, "Game over." And it sounded like Bison in this scene, and he had to fight to not burst out laughing. Yeah, game over. And you'll notice that T-Hawk has just got a little band-aid there now and not a badge.
Yeah, right.
Like it's working its way up to it. Um, yeah, I absolutely love this bit here. I tell you, like it really doesn't feel like a 90-minute long film, does it? Like it really does feel like this feels like the director extended version, doesn't it? Like it just
I
doesn't
know
seem to
it's
end.
the yeah, the pacing's all over the shop. It's but in a kind of good way. It doesn't feel like it's dragging, but it's again, I cannot believe we're just barely an hour into it. It feels like we've been going at it for a while.
I do love that line. In that case, let's get an early start. Like we'll sleep it off and we'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
let's go now. And you'll notice that the characters that aren't in their final costumes yet are getting there. I was going to say back in the torture chamber with E.Honda and Balrog, you'll notice that Balrog is wearing two shirts. He's got the white undershirt, um, the same as the game.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember if at the end of the film when they're all in their victory poses if he goes shirtless because there was always that. I think it's his second victory where he'll just rip his shirt off if he
Yeah.
wins two in a row.
Yeah, I was reflecting on characters that have some untapped potential, and he's probably one of them, Balrog. Again, I never really took the time to
He can't kick Kenny from memory. If you do like a fierce heavy kick with him, he'll just punch again, won't he?
I believe so, yeah. I don't think he
Yeah.
can kick.
Yeah. I also think his Vegas level, by the way, is probably my favorite out of the original. Like the
Yeah,
music's really
the
good, and I love the people. Like you have the showgirls with the top hats
yeah.
walking around in the background. It's got a real Living in America vibe from Rocky Four. Like I really like that level
Yeah, I
from
enjoy the music as well. One
yeah
of
Las
my
Vegas. Yeah.
yeah, regarding Blanca, I always loved the the bronze yellowish copper kind of skin with the blue hair. As much as I love Blanca and I do love Blanca, the default green and orange skin, oh, I don't know. I hate myself. It just doesn't quite work for me. I loved my favorite color scheme of him is the bronze coppery kind of skin with the blue hair.
Is
I
that the
think he looks
turbo one?
badass. Yeah, well, it's my first ever version I saw of him, and that's what made me fall in love with
Yeah,
him.
it has like that
I
purplish
didn't
hair.
actually yeah, I didn't actually realize green and orange was his default color.
Well, I
And would you
really
believe I've been looking for a toy of him, and it's got that color scheme, but it's inverted. He's got the blue skin with the bronze hair. I'm thinking, dude, you had one job.
yeah yeah.
I
Well,
would have bought it in a
I
heartbeat.
know the one you're talking about because his original color swap was blue skin with yellow hair. So he had green
Yes,
and
yeah,
red. That's his original, and then
yeah,
you had blue and yellow, and that was his alternate palette of the original game, like the
yeah,
Championship edition. And then in
yeah. Okay,
Turbo, you had the yellow one with the purple hair. Is the
yeah,
one I think you're talking about the Turbo one. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, that one's a really good look for him. Um, yeah, no, I reckon that's a good choice. I'm a bit of a sucker for the blue and yellow one. Um,
Yeah.
I really like that one. But but again, the first time, like when I was old enough to hold a controller, like Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super Nintendo, like I just played that into the ground. You know,
Yeah.
um,
And these days I'm with the anniversary edition and things like that, they come with like dozens and dozens of alternate schemes, so you can probably mix and match and choose your custom one now.
well, I was gonna say, if you've ever played the Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challenges on the Nintendo Switch, you can customize your own palette
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
characters.
that's
Like you
great.
can choose
Yeah.
your own skin color and hair color, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, my 30-year nightmare will be over.
It only took that long to get there, but I suppose better late than never.
Yeah.
What does Toby say in the office? Like I'm sure like that beach will still be there when I'm 60.
Yeah.
I do love that moment where Giles kind of like hangs back and the spider crawls over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colonel Guile. I can't remember in the game. Did he have a rank?
Um, yeah, not from memory. Yeah, it was just Guile. I'm not even sure he had a first name as well. Um, it wasn't like E.Honda or something. It was just Guile.
Yeah, Edmund Honda.
Yeah, he's another example of the balance and the mechanics because he's yeah, I found Guile very tricky to play, but if you he's in those tier of characters and there's a few of them. Like some characters like Rio are very intuitive to pick up. Guile is slower, but he hits harder. And that's what I love about it. It caters to for every persuasion. Like and my favorite character of all is E.Honda, who's one of the slower characters, but I just love playing with him. And a lot of people would like the slow and cumbersome characters like Honda and Zangief and that probably aren't very popular to be picked. But yeah, I just love how balanced. I feel really comfortable with the controller in my hands playing with Honda.
Also, by the way, using the 1,000 hand slap, like on the bonus levels, like with the car and the bricks, is just so
Yeah,
satisfying with Honda because you can smash it out in like 5 seconds.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, E Honda. Oh yeah, well another good one is Blanca's electricity. Using that in the bonus
yeah,
games as well. Like just sit in the middle, and just use the medium punch over and over again, and use the thunder.
yeah,
Like use the thunder to break the barrels and destroy the car and all that kind. Like that's another really cool one. And I think with Blanca, there's another trick where if you just sit on the hood of the car and do it, you can destroy the whole thing without moving.
yeah,
Blanca. Now, you were talking about Guile's moveset, and I will say this: I've been trounced. Like I'm a pretty seasoned player. I'd like to think so. I've been trounced by some Guiles online.
yeah.
Who do you think is the worst one to go for the big jump kick trip on? Do you think it's Sagat with the tiger uppercut, or do you think it's Guile with the flash kick?
Both, yeah, but that's another example of just how well balanced the gameplay is. Um, for every effective attack, there's just an equally as effective counter attack. The tactics mirror each other perfectly across the whole roster. Um, Dalsum has excellent long range attacks, for example, but they don't pack much punch. Um, so you got to make those sort of trade-offs when you're deciding to get good at the game.
Yeah, but you
Like
don't
Guile
really want to
is,
get caught up in a yoga flame because that's pretty unforgiving as well.
yeah, that's true as well. Yeah. Um, Guile is. like he's not as fast as Ken and Ryu, but he hits harder. So well, I always sort of found him too, and yeah, the flash kick really negates their dragon punches and other things.
And also, if you go for the Shoryuken and you miss, like a tiger uppercut or a flash kick right
Yeah,
underneath that can really make or break your win for that game.
yeah,
I believe we actually see a flash kick in the actual film,
yes,
albeit
that's right.
not
Yeah,
without the flashy side effects. I mean, the actual special moves we should talk about. Um, like I know we get a Stephen E. D'Souza, what he flashes one frame of the film white when Byron Man does the Hadouken, and I actually think that's pretty cool. Like I think that's enough.
yeah,
Like it doesn't need to be Gohan's, Kamehameha wave against Cell back in
yeah,
1994. I just think that one is really cool. That's plenty. Um, and the flash kick, and I think Cammy, she has her uh, what is it? It's like that spiral arrow kick shows up
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Zangief, and I believe the thousand hand slap does show up as well. E.Honda does it to Zangief,
yeah. There's so many shout outs and Easter eggs to the games. It's
but
really
it
cool.
but it doesn't bog itself down. You know what I mean? Like it's because one thing that like I don't mind, like a little bit of fan service is cool. You know what I mean? But like this is literally a by the fans for the fans sort of thing. Like it's like the ingredients are there, especially like well trained eyes will definitely notice what things are being mentioned and stuff like that. Like I don't think it needs to be this sort of over, but it's sort of the perfect storm, isn't it? Like you think about things that were getting popular at the time, and then you think about things that you like, and you like a bit of this, it influences how you think about that. Like the Hadouken was just a small energy ball, and then Dragon Ball Z gets popular. So you imagine the Hadouken more like the Metsu Hadouken of Street Fighter 4, and it's like this massive earth-ending blast. And like, no, that's
Yeah,
not what it is. Back then, it wasn't. So I suppose that
yeah,
also
that's
sort of
right.
hurts the film in retrospect. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also things sort of adapt with the times to try and stay relevant. And yeah, lots of guns, lots of action in the film, in the final film. But in hindsight, I understand a lot of the criticisms of it because the pacing is just all over the shop.
It is pretty over bloated as well. Yeah, like it
Yeah,
really has a lot going on.
it's yeah, because it's yeah, I didn't do my usual custom this week with Origin and everything. It's been kind of mental, but I did watch this movie last year, so it was relatively fresh in my mind. But like just sort of discussing it and the sort of franchise more broadly, I can see some of the valid criticisms there. This third act is just all over the shop with everything that's going on.
I will say, I love that massive welt on Jean Claude's forehead, like like he got jobbed earlier.
Yeah,
And I think this is a great matchup, and I love the top knot that Honda ties up. This is an awesome
yeah,
matchup between these two. Like it's about time we see Zangief. I mean, like Zangief is like the Russian cyclone. So to
yeah,
see him fight a sumo, like it was just really cool seeing those two guys just sort of start scrapping with each other. Yeah, all that's left now is revenge, and they see Ken and Ryu escape. like,
yeah,
like these guys know there's no escaping to fight another day. Like we are going to be apprehended or killed at the end of this. We might as well go down swinging and try and take them with us.
yeah.
And what was your favorite Chun-Li outfit? I've always been a bit of a sucker for the grey one. I think that was her turbo look.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't mind. And I'm surprised she's not in it. Like just the default blue and gold one kind of worked for me. Maybe they tried and it just sort of didn't look right or didn't stand out as much with the blue of the other sort of characters' uniforms. But um, Yeah, I like
yeah, also,
Chun-Li's default one.
yeah, I guess it's also worth mentioning that Guile doesn't wear green, but he wears blue in this. Um, I think because blue was his Street Fighter Turbo look,
Yeah,
that's why they went for that. But I also think because blue really does clash against red, and Bison is primarily red, so they wanted that
yeah,
instead.
yeah, yeah. That could be it.
And there's a lot of green going on with the scenery, so that's probably why they wanted the Allied nations to be blue and Guile to opt for his turbo look.
Yeah.
I actually forgot, now that you pointed it out, yeah, the automatic weapon fire is pretty full on in this film. Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of took me aback a little bit a second ago, and and
Cammy's in
and,
his
and that's
suit.
another thing that hurts it. Now it's just a generic kind of action movie.
It
It's not a
really
Street
is.
Fighter
We
movie.
haven't had many fights now. Like I know there was a deleted moment when Chun-Li was sneaking into the morgue. She had a deleted fight scene with Cammy. Um,
Okay, yeah.
there was that one, and there might have been one more in the special features of the Blu-ray. Yeah, we shall face it together, DJ.
I
Yeah.
love that bit,
And then
yeah.
he just scurries off. Like, I mean, we need, like, next election night, we need to use that. Yeah, that's going to be me on New Year's. Yeah, and also, like, I think Cammy's costume here, I'm trying to remember. I think what's missing is she doesn't wear the beret. Like, Cammy always
Yeah,
had that beret. Like, the costume looks
yeah.
great, but she's missing that. And, like, I mean, Cammy needs a hat, man. Like, that's just how it is. I've always found it interesting, like, these sort of having these two guys. Like, we were talking about, like, characters that actually have arcs. You kind of get it a little bit, but I suppose it's a little bit too late to the party with Ken and Ryu. Like, Ken has a
Yeah.
pretty profound line later in the film to Sagat: if I didn't meet you, I might have become you. Like, that's a pretty solid line, and I get what they're going for there. Maybe they played the card a little bit too late.
Yeah, well, he's kind of it's different in a way to Zangief's because Ken has a change of heart because Ryu's in danger, whereas Zangief has a change of heart because he knows what he's doing morally wrong once he knows the truth.
Yeah.
So probably not as much of an arc as what Zangief did, but it's good to see. But because by the end of it, um, all the middle of the road characters in the film, like Ken and Chun-Li and Zangief, they're all have chosen a side by the end of it.
I also love when we finally get Guile in his costume when he takes his shirt off and he's got the blue singlet. He uses the video game line, "Are you man enough to fight with me?" I just thought it was so
Yeah,
hot. Like, yeah, they work it in when he takes the shirt off because I believe Bison quotes one of his victory screens as well. "All who oppose me shall be destroyed" is one of Bison's victory quotes, and "Are you man enough to fight with me" is one of Guile's ones. But I just
yeah,
thought it
that's
was
right.
interesting they have him say that when he starts stripping off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that has to be. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, "Are you men enough to fight with me?" And this is another one. I'm gonna save this for like next State of Origin night. If I'm not topside in 15 minutes, evacuate without me.
Yeah. I think Queensland are going to need it.
Yeah, yeah. And there
But
you
this
go,
is great.
T-Hawk. I mean, I know. I love it how they all back out.
Yeah.
And that was another line that really, yeah, throw them into the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I love the sort of filming tricks they use to make Raul Julia so much taller. God, he looks like a giant, doesn't he?
Whole sequence is great. I love this part of the movie.
Yeah. Like that final fight is like they're literally on a walkway, like like in 2D fighting games. Why can't you like sidestep or anything like that? I love how they're literally on a walkway and the only way out is to go through each other. Like it's exactly like a fighting game. Yeah. Well, this could be strategically important. And I think we get the flash hit coming up. What do you reckon? I actually don't mind the sort of smug talk about the about the actual fight
Yeah,
because the bell. You'll notice the bell there is the
yeah,
same bell from the Thailand level that you fight Bison in.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Sorry, I just dropped out there for a minute.
Oh, yeah, no,
Not
that's all
sure
right,
what
mate.
happened.
Yeah, I love that smack in his head. Yeah, I love the stage references are probably my favorite, and I think the flash kick is coming up soon.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, it's a thing I misremembered. I thought it happened after he revived. But it's about like as his little spot of a moment in the sun.
and one thing I want to point out, you can't help but think maybe Street Fighter 4 drew some inspiration from this, because you'll remember if you fight Seth, if you beat him in round one, like round one, the lab is all nice and clean, and round two, it's unknown crumbling laboratory. Whereas when you go there for round one, it's unknown secret laboratory. During the actual fight, you'll notice like the lab is breaking down in the film. I can't help but wonder maybe someone somewhere might have been a fan of this and decided to channel it a little bit into Seth's level.
Yeah, quite possibly. It's
I was just thinking about that. It's okay. I'm just half dead, and Bison all dead, and
yeah.
he's like getting up behind him. It reminds me of that sound off 1, 2, sound off 3, 4. He's like he's walking up the steps behind him.
Yeah.
like I always love the you start talking smug about the guy you think is not in the room, and he's right behind you.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Bison. I mean, he has seen some better days at this point. Guile. See, and it's interesting about that suit, like it has an like adrenal injection, and it can give a heart massage and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the sort of insurance that would imagine a slimy bastard like Bison would do.
Yeah.
I always do like to work that one in as well. This is merely superconductor electromagnetism. Surely you've heard of it. Like whatever happened to the what does he say? Purity of unarmed combat. Like he's cheating like all shit right now.
Yeah. And this is a good payoff to the this is a good tee up to the to a gag coming later.
I always
DJ pissing off with the money.
That was one of my favorite lines from DJ. Mama didn't raise no fool, baby. And then you got Ken in there, and then he goes and jacks the statue. Yeah, like if you wanted props, man, you had to steal them. And I always like that about early, like, because someone made a mention, like with aliens, they like the now old futuristic tech back then. And that's sort of something that I really like in this, not like a '90s movie like Street Fighter. Like I love the like there's a two-way there because we know how a two-way works, but we've got a touch screen and we got an overlay that we don't know about because Windows didn't really become a thing yet, and I miss that sort of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but now everything has to be like an Apple product placement. Like why can't a phone in a movie today have its own sort of unique operating system like the computers in this do? Like
Yeah.
I just miss that. Like Time Cop was good at that. Demolition Man was good at that. And now we finally get back to Vega and Ryu. What did you think about some of the rivalries that they did put into the film?
Yeah, I think some of them are really good. I liked what you said earlier. Honda and Zangief is a really good matchup. Chun-Li and Cammy would have been great if they had the time to show up. But yeah, it's yeah, Guile is obviously the hero and gonna face off with the the villain Bison. It's I don't think you'll lose much with Sagat and Ken and Vega and Ryu. I mean, you could they could sort of change partners and you wouldn't lose much, I suppose. I'm surprised, considering the history they have in the games, they didn't pair Ryu up with Sagat. But
That's
although
probably
they're going at it now
like, well,
as a
that's
bit of a shout out.
that's where I was sort of going with it. Like, it's bizarre. Like, it got that close and then it stopped. you know. But I suppose they wanted to make more of an example, like Ken being the more materialistic one out of the two,
Yeah.
deciding not to. I suppose that's what they were going for. But yeah, to not have Ryu and Sagat just sort of square up. Yeah, no, that's a bit weird. um, why they didn't go for that. And I do love Wes Studi wearing the mittens. Like, I know he doesn't go shirtless, because I was going to ask earlier if he went without the shirt so we saw the scar. Though I do believe when he catches up with DJ later in the film, he's not wearing a shirt there, but I can't remember if he's got the scar or not.
Okay.
And that's a
Yeah, it's
better look at the Japanese artist background from E.Honda's level.
yeah, okay. Because Wes Studi is a solid dude. Without a like it
There's the
some of the stuff he's
Hadouken.
done, he's deceptively big.
Oh, yeah. I do love using the weight ball between the two. Yeah. I believe it's Damien Chapa as Ken, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. He we spoke a bit about him in our Under Siege
Yeah,
discussion.
that's right, because he's in that, yeah, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, well, a year or so ago, yeah. Yeah, he's a interesting dude. He's sort of gone down the conspiracy rabbit hole, I think, these days.
Yeah, and there's a little shout out to the Shoryuken there.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
I love using the gym equipment for a fight. Like, Ryu punches the punching bag into Vega. Sagat is using the chest bar to strangle Ken. Like, they're using gym equipment.
Yeah.
And that spin kick, I suppose, if you want to stress the imagination, is a I think, like, I mean, for as long as I've been aware, it's the, a threat that you can. But I believe, it's funny because this is an ongoing debate. It's actually called the Tatsumaki Senpukyaku, the helicopter, the hurricane kick. Like, look, guys, we've studied this back and forth in Japanese, and any Street Fighter fan listening to this will know Tatsumaki Senpukyaku is not what they're saying in the video game, guys. Like, everyone else is hearing Yaktek like, that's not what they're saying.
Yeah.
Although that one's always been interesting, that it's kind of been lost to time. Like, what's the crazy nonsense one is what people say. But yeah, no, they're not saying what. I know the actual translation is Tatsumaki Senpukyaku. That's not what they're saying in the game, and we all know it.
That's that funny scene. Oof, I'll put a pin in that,
Yeah,
but
I
we'll
love
stay with
that
this fight.
three-way sidekick, and it was something that I mentioned in the Annihilation discussion, because Sonya has that sort of framing of her kick in the Cyrax fight with the boot to the screen. I love the three different angle version of it with Guile here.
Yeah, and Van Damme um sometimes cops a bit of criticism from that because yeah, his trademark spin kick, and he's done it in a couple of his movies. Yeah, it's the one kick. It's just filmed from a couple of different angles, and they intercut it to make it look like there's more than one.
It's
Oh,
just
like I've
using a
never
bit
had a
of
problem with
B-roll,
it.
is all it is. Yeah.
It's just the magic of the movies. Yeah, it seems a weird thing to get bent out of shape over.
I just want to jump in real quick. I love that line from E.Honda, because this is Street Fighter. Sorry, man, can't play no more. It's like when your parents take you home when you're over at a
Yeah,
friend's place and you're playing it on the
yeah,
Super Nintendo and you got to go home before you stop the match. Sorry, man, can't play no more.
yeah,
I love that. I mean, like, that has to be a deliberate line.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is when Zangief. And you'll notice that Zangief has earned his scars now through his fight
Yeah,
with Honda. He's all
yeah,
bashed up.
it's really cool how they organically work these things into the movie.
And I believe DJ goes shirtless as well when he gets on the outside. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
sooner or later they all do get um, into their costumes. But I think it's a really cool way of using battle damage to get them to
Yeah,
that point. Like that's a really cool because it shows a progression of the character on screen, doesn't it? As well.
yeah, yeah. This is all really good now.
And Ken and Ryu are clearly in their costumes now because they've ripped the logos off.
Yeah, yeah. Symbolically choosing the side of good.
And I love that little smack talk between the two girls there. And this was always a moment that really stuck out to me as a kid was when Zangief lifts up the door. Because I think physically, in terms of a character who can hit the hardest, Zangief is number one, I think, in terms of the game. Like, I know Vega is the fastest character, but he's also the weakest, I think. Um,
Yes, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure Zangief can hit the hardest out of all of them, with the possible exception of Balrog, but I think Zangief can hit harder.
yeah.
I used to be good with Vega. I probably couldn't pull off a move with him now. Because that was his biggest advantage was that he was the fastest character in the game, and he also had Chun-Li's double jump when she could jump up to the background and jump off of that. Vega
Yeah,
could
that's
do
right.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah, Spain.
I would love to know why Dalsum suddenly went bald. I
Yeah.
don't know if the film ever drew attention to that. I suppose when they were battling, like chemicals got spilt onto him in the Super Soldier Lab. Um,
Yeah, or it was an explosion or something, or maybe it was some kind of ritual
I mean, like,
that
there's
he
a lot of
undertook.
stuff going on in that lab that is. It could have even just been straight up radiation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not ruling any
Yeah.
of that out. Um, yeah, well, like
It
the
was a
locations
nice,
are unreal. Yeah,
yeah, it was always a nice touch for Guile to go back and try and save Blanca.
I did love seeing that footage when Bison brings it up on the big screen. Like he's fighting my men, and Blanca is just
Yeah.
folding these guys up like origami. Like they're nothing to him. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about Blanca here. Like Blanca could like and like just to really put it into contrast, like the animated movie, Blanca has that fight with Zangief at that Las Vegas sort of underground masquerade ball.
Yes.
It, like Zangief like just grabs his hair and pulls it, and then he just shocks him.
Yeah.
Like Zangief is the only person physically strong enough to go up against Blanca. Yeah, there
I
we go.
always
Oh yeah,
liked
no,
that
yeah, no, there
shot.
we go. He's got the scar. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
always
like the
knew.
shot of the bad guys getting frog marched out the the fortress. I like it when it appears in movies. I remember the one from Avatar where the Na'vi are escorting all the humans in this long line off onto a ship.
I love this sort of mourning for the hero, and you can't help but think that Guile's just around the corner, just cackling like the
Yeah.
killer in Scary Movie. And I always love how he checks Cammy's eyes. It was tear gas on the way out. No, really cool stuff. I love this sort of wholesome moment at the end of it. You know, because it
Yeah.
really is that like live to fight another day, isn't it? Like the day is done. You know, the battle is won. Let's leave it at that. And I do love that sort of. You guys ever think of enlisting? Oh no 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 no. And I think this was. I don't believe this was a Capcom directive, but the final shot being their victory poses. I
Yeah,
think that was
okay.
just something they did for the film. I'm sure some Street Fighter fan out there can probably enlighten me on that, but I don't think that was a Capcom directive. The only two that I know about is that all 16 characters needed to be in it, and they all needed to be in their costumes at some point. I'm not too sure about the victory poses. I think that was just something they did because why not?
Yeah.
Or like you think about it, like maybe final day of shooting, everyone's gone through hair and makeup, everyone's there. Why not?
Yeah.
Like a group shot. Yeah, but only if you wear that dress. I love that explosion, like after the fact. It's almost like killing the corpse, isn't it? Like the neck
Yeah,
snap in Rambo 3, and then it blows up.
yeah, and it is a good shot to end the film on. That's quite good.
No, man, I
Firing
had a
Man.
yeah, like I really had a good for Pharrell, yeah, Via con Dios, which coincidentally is also a tie into another commentary, one of the first ones we did, Point Break.
Yeah. Wow, that was a
Yeah,
feels like a
well,
long time ago.
like this film is really tied into a lot of our previous ones. Yeah, no, I had a really great time checking this one out. It really, yeah, just awesome stuff, man. What do you think?
Yeah, it's yeah, like I mentioned, I normally try to watch whatever it is that's being suggested, but yeah, I didn't get around to it this week, but I did I picked up the Blu-ray of Street Fighter that 88 Films had made, and there's a lot of good stuff on there, and I watched it about a year or so ago, so it was relatively fresh in my mind, but yeah, I have a lot of fun with this movie, but sort of watching it in terms of um, like a broader discussion. Because yeah, we don't really do commentaries. It's more of a, at least not a play-by-play commentary. Whatever we talk about, we normally talk about, you know, in a broader context of whatever property it's a part of. But yeah, I can understand, like from a film perspective, a lot of its critics have a point. And yeah, just sort of sitting back and discussing it tonight, the third act has some real problems, but it doesn't ruin the film. For me, I've always thought this was a really fun movie. I remember seeing it as a boy on the big screen. I remember the VHS cassette owning it. I've got the DVD and Blu-ray, so I have a ton of fun with this film. And because I think Van Damme is has been underrated for a lot of his film career, particularly around the time this period was set. And so yeah, I've had a lot of fun, and I miss and to pick up on the point you made earlier about other video game adaptations, I I've got, yeah, like you mentioned, I've got no doubt the Super Mario Brothers movie is really good, but you know it, like you said, it's so much like the game. I'm sure it colors inside the lines. I'm sure it doesn't make any mistakes, but I miss. Does a sneaky little part of you really want something of the disaster of the Bob Hoskins films, you know? And like this film, the the animated movie is probably pound for pound a much better film than this one, but I don't remember too much of that. I remember liking it, and I've seen it once or twice here and there, but I've revisited this film a lot more times. Like I find myself gravitating more towards films that swing for the fences and fall short, rather than ones that play it safe and excel, I guess is my sort of philosophy about it. It's kind of like the same way that like Stallone's Dread film is, you often find that's discussed more about than the recent Dread film. Like the recent Dread film is great, so no one talks about it, you know? It did its job too well. Um, so yeah, I always gravitate more towards, I'm finding as I get older, like I'll always forgive a film that swings for the fences and falls short, because at least it's having a go. It's not aiming for a C minus
Yeah,
when we know it's an A plus student. We know it's got ability, you know? That's what I respect. I respect the guys that give it a crack, and this film gives it a red hot crack.
yeah. See, I'm similar in that regard as well. Like what you were just saying there. Like I remember Todd McFarlane said once on a like how to draw video. You know, sometimes you just got to grab the cage and give it a good shake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this film does that. And you got to remember, this also wasn't the like we weren't Street Fighter 6 balls deep into this franchise when this film was made, and I think a lot of people forget that when they look back at it. Yes, the
Yeah.
pacing is definitely way off, and I will just go on to add to that that had we not have been doing our discussion on it tonight, I would not have even realized just how over the place the pacing is. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely negative. When I watched it earlier in the week, I didn't even notice that. It wasn't until we
Yeah,
were
it's
watching it up until Guile's speech that the pacing really is flawed in this film. We
yeah.
both agreed like that happened with 20 minutes to go. So I totally understand people saying it's not the best made piece. Of course it's not. That is definitely a valid criticism that I cannot go into bat for no matter what anyone says. You know, they are 100% right. The pacing is terrible in this film. You know, that whole third act is totally overblown. It's spinning way too many plates. Maybe what it should have done is wrap up a couple of characters before then,
Yeah.
and get them into their costume. Um, but then you maybe sort of miss out on moments later. Like maybe you could have wrapped up like Blanca earlier or something like that, but they've already teased him to be a later thing and all of that. Maybe with a couple of more rewrites, we might have had something. But I think the important thing to learn about the film is that we were never going to have an out and out 10 out of 10 smash hit that was going to have 10 sequels the way people think that it was going to have if it was made today. And I hope people
Yeah.
remember that about this potential new film that's coming out. Because one thing that does get mixed up in translation is people looking back on this, like we're looking at a post credit scene now, and,
Before it was cool.
before it was cool, and not to mention a proper post credit scene because it happens after the credits, not after a
Yeah.
couple of short little here and there's, and then it happens. This is Skeletor, I'll be back levels. But
Yeah.
it's just it was what it was, and it didn't play out. It didn't play out. Um, so I hope people remember that going into this new film. That you know, if it's meant to be true that this new Street Fighter film is coming out, it's not going to be this knockout 10 out of 10. The sequel is going to be Dark Knight levels of success, and Street Fighter fans, and Street Fighter is going to take over the world. It is what it is. It was a fighting fad at the time. We got a film out of it. We got it at the height of its popularity. We enjoy it. We move on and all that kind of stuff. It's always a bit of fun checking out new Street Fighter media, but I think we need to check ourselves and really evaluate what is Street Fighter. It's about a bunch of people coming together, having fun, beating the stuffing out of each other. And if the film delivers that, it does it. I don't need to know about the intricacies of life in a film called Street Fighter.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. Well said. Hadouken.